guys, Brian here. Welcome back to the shop. So, working on the boring mill again here today, doing some more alignment work. Been over on Practical Machinist, talking to my friends Richard King and Tyrone over there. And Tyrone seems to set up a whole lot of boring mills across the pond over in England, not so much the G&Ls, but he's got a lot of experience with the British brands and getting them set up and trued in and what you want to look for and all that kind of stuff. So I've been going with some of their advice, and they've come back and thrown pretty much everything out of the window on this and started re-leveling to get some different results. When I had this before and I had the granite plate on here and was doing the travels over it, the spindle was really tipped down into the plate. I was seeing like 10 thou with the spindle going in and out. And I thought maybe that was just drooping the spindle, but turns out it's not. And decided I wanted to get that better than what it was. So I cranked the jack bolts up in the back some more and pulled the nose down to try and get that 10 thou pulled out of it, and I think I've gotten pretty good here. It's interesting now to see the wear in the spindle as this thing goes in and out. Don't see much in the table. I've got the straight edge here. I had to shim it 1.5 thou in the back to get the best readings. It's got a little bit, this table still, it falls over this side. And I don't know if it's wear in this area, which I kind of expect it is, because that's where everything's been bolted on it and slid and moved on and off. And I feel like there might be a slight hole in this table. Also, Tyrone says that the way on this side, the master way, gets the most wear, which makes sense because all the chips are getting thrown down here and they get drug up and back, and the operator tends to put stuff on this side because that's where you're at to work and see what you're doing. It doesn't make a lot of sense to put a part over there to do milling on because you can't see over there, so the operator naturally wants to put it to this side so they can see what they're doing. So that results in more wear on this side. So there's some wear in this machine. Obviously it's 70 plus years old, so it's not perfect, but it's not bad either. Like I said, it's a lot better than my Cincinnati is. So I'm gonna get this fired up and we'll take a look at what I got going on here. I'll get you repositioned. In the future, I plan to do a scraping project with, I've got 2 of these and I want to match them exactly to each other. And then that way, if I do a long surface, I can use these tops to put my boring mill level on, and I can level off of these pads from one to the other, and I can stair step them like a chain link to do a long surface like this 10-foot bed rather than needing a 10-foot straight edge, because those are hard to come by and pricey and extremely unwieldy for one guy to manipulate. So something like this would be a lot easier to do. You can scrape in one section, get it level where you want, then put the next end plate down beside it and level to this piece, and work your way on out using this as a master. And then when you get your next one where you want it to be, you can take this one off the first section and move it to the next section and just keep on trucking. So that's my idea. It'll be an interesting project to do. Be some good scraping practice. Right now these are just ground, but they seem to be pretty good. So I can't complain about how they look, just with my inspection and stuff. I threw them on my granite plate, which is an unknown quantity, and hinged it, and they hinge, pretty much right here where these points are. So I think they're pretty straight, it seems to be. I got the tense indicator on here again, so let's fire this up and take a look. So the first thing I want to check is the spindle movement relative to my straight edge. So I'm zeroed out on the tense, and let's crank this thing in. So I'm pretty close there. I'm just 2/10 below zero there. There's a dip right there. I don't know if that's in the spindle or in this straight edge. It's 3/10. Comes back up. 0 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. Going back the other way. Back to 0. A half under. Probably 8/10 under. Come back up. I'm gonna say that's in the straight edge where that came back up. So, may not be perfect. I haven't blued this up. I don't have any blue here to test it with. I'll have to get Tom Lipton's secret recipe for that ink that they were using from the hobby shop. Seemed like it worked pretty good and good price. So, nonetheless, looks like we're within pretty much a thou over that travel with the spindle. So, let's start it up and traverse this and see what we get. So we're starting a half below. Let's go. More than 40 inches, we pretty well come right back to where it started. So it's less than 1,000, so over 40 inches. I'm happy about that. But I want to try and see if I can get this straight edge with the slots on the table and indicate them, and we'll see how parallel these setup slots are. I really like my setup slots, so it's important to me that they're parallel because that's a fast way to set stuff up. And this mill is set up for both directions, so you can angle block in 2 directions to square something up, which is a huge time saver. All right, so I got my 40-inch straight edge in there, and I've got it butted up against the slot. So let's indicate this thing and see how true the travel is. This is usually the best direction. This is the way I mill my cylinder heads and that kind of stuff. The horizontal mills are excellent for doing this kind of work because if there's any tippy tip or sag or swap in the ways on the machine, it usually doesn't translate into the milled surface side. So this should be pretty good. Let's see what it looks like. Looks like off the way over 40 inches, definitely less than 1,000, might be a half 1,000. Well, we started at 0 and back at 0, so looks like it repeats anyway, so it's less than 1,000 over this 40 inches. That's either this straight edge is pretty close or it matches the mill wear anyway. Nonetheless, I'm satisfied with that. So let me try and get this up against these slots crossways, and we'll indicate this way, and if that's square, I'm gonna call it good. So I just butted it up against the groove there and tip it over to get it in it, and we'll see how close this is. The slot's not super crisp, so can't say how good this will be, but we'll see. Probably should use the thou indicator on this. Okay, so after some more inspecting, I've decided that this table's not really that bad. So another quarter turn on the screws underneath of the headstock here, and I've got the bed to where it's running more level. I'm within 1,000ths over this 40 inches travel. Just to show you here, if I slide my straight edge, as long as it's up on the pads. We're within a couple of tenths, actually. 2 tenths there. 2 tenths. 2 tenths. Yeah, really, it's pretty much spot on. If I get it over in those holes or grooves, it drops off, but otherwise, as long as it's on the surface, we're pretty close to 0. So, let's get this straightened up. There we go. We're on 0 there. I'm going to travel the spindle out. Tooth out. Yeah, right that tooth out of parallel with the spindle. So let's fire up and we'll traverse the table. Let's see what that looks like. Now with no shims under here, we're just right on the table. That's good enough for 0. Let's hit it. Alright, so let's feed it in and see how it does. Right back to 0, so been a thou over that travel distance. That's 3 foot. The whole parallel edge is 40, so it's 3 foot of travel there and less than a thou. Now I'll show you where the problem comes in. Alright, let's see how square that table slot is. Within a thou. Yeah, it's like within a thou over distance. Now let me show you the problem. You just saw using the table that this was pretty parallel within less than a thousandths, but I'm going to show you the problem I got is this spindle is kicked over, so I got to figure out how to bring that around. I can't really do that for the jack screws, and I don't seem to think that I can do it with the gibs either. They're all adjusted up tight, so I have to see what I can come up with. It really seems like the whole column needs to twist on the bed. Maybe that's possible to do. I'm not sure. So I'm not sure how these machines are assembled. So if anybody does know, it would be good if you could give me advice on how to do that or what to do, or to just forget about it and just bore holes, because the bore axis would be straight. The problem is the spindle axis is off. So, watch the needle down there and see it go crazy. Let me zoom you in here. Well, I can't get consistent readings because I can't lock the spindle. I guess that's the problem that I had earlier, was that the spindle must have actually been twisting and made it look a lot worse than it really is. I'm satisfied that's actually okay right there. No more difference side to side than I was up and down, so. I don't think, I mean, I'm only pretty much getting the thou This indicator keeps turning on me, just rotating the spindle because there's no brake or lock mechanism for this. So what I'm gonna do is drop this spindle all the way down so that it's in line and I can run the indicator straight out the end. And then that way it won't try to twist itself from the spring pressure. And we'll see if it can't get a consistent reading. So let me run this out and drop this down, we'll see what we get. Two, three, four, five, six. Six to seven anyway. Let's just say six. If anybody knows what the proper fix would be for a spindle that's pointed over 6/1000ths, how to twist it around. I don't know if this column can twist or if it's doweled onto the bed. I read something about some dowels, but I'm not sure exactly what that entails. 6/1000ths is not a lot at the end of a spindle, but still gonna take a pretty good bit over there. I'm gonna say this thing probably needs to twist a thou to get 6 out of it, maybe. I have to do the math and see what the triangle works out to, but and depends on how far apart the dowels are spaced as to how much pivot it's got. But appears to be the case is that this thing needs to cock around. As I can't tell on these waves that they all look pretty good. I don't think that there's a lot of slop here. If I just grab a hold of the headstock and try and yank it around, I don't get any movement on my indicator. I want to grab the spindle. Try wiggling the tailstock and see if it moves. I have to look at the video and see if the indicator moves because I can't see it from back there. That'll tell me how much play is up here, if any. Looks like it's made up okay. Scraping this in, I don't really know how I would even do that. Trying to print a headstock. I guess I could hang it off the bridge crane and try and swing it and manipulate it, but it looks heavy, so it'd be pretty much like, I don't know, trying to take a K&T and spot it onto a, just be like taking a K&T and trying to spot it on here, really. Be kind of difficult to handle one person and not rock the thing around and mess your spotting up. I'd see where that would really be a challenge. Probably would be best off to just straight edge all of it, I guess would be how you would do it, rather than trying to spot this piece to the other piece. Wouldn't really be practical. I think you just have to do all straight edges. So I'm gonna have to collect some more straight edges. That one there might work good for this. It could really stand to be wider for this kind of job, but you just have to keep it all level and square and spot it, block it, may make a plate to go underneath of it or something that would be wider, that would match this way width. It's a lot easier if you're wider than the way width with your piece to spot off of. long as there's room in there for it. Anyway, I'm not sure what I'll do about that at this point in time. I might just go ahead and run it. I don't know what an acceptable tolerance is for that, but it definitely appears to be poked over. Well, that's about as much inspecting and cranking as I can do for one day, so I'll call it quits here and ponder on this and see what I think I'm going to do. Also, I've made a deal for a tailstock for this machine that I found, so I gotta go get that picked up and get that in here, and then I can add another wrench into the alignment equation. I can put a tailstock down there and stick a bar between the centers and then see if I can get that to run straight in addition to all this other stuff. So setting up one of these big machines is definitely quite the job, it seems, especially if it's used and you don't know what surfaces are flat and what surfaces are square. Doing one of these when they're new is no doubt a big enough job, but at least you know how it's supposed to turn out. With this machine, I don't even know how it's supposed to turn out, so it's a little bit of a crapshoot, and just tweak until you get it as good as you can, I guess, and then you give up or go back and start over again. So thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, I'll catch y'all later.